The McLaren MP430 from 2015, Honda's first hybrid engine car stuck in the back of a McLaren. And at low speed, it really does sound like a box of spanners. Welcome to the wonderful Silverstone for the first week of the new iGP series, the pinnacle of iRacing. This series brings you the fast-paced world of Formula 1 and for the first time the ability on iRacing to have 3 different compounds of tyres, opening up various strategy options, making the racing highly exciting and variable. So come and watch along my second ever race in these cars around this wonderful circuit. It actually what is a fantastic handling car that gives you the ability to push every single lap, even when the tyres start to go away. So with no further ado, let's jump straight into qualifying. So as we start the lap, flat out, DRS open into Abbey, Farm Curve and Village Complex. Going flat out and then braking hard into second gear for Village and then into second back again for the loop. Getting on the power very gently as you head through Aintree down onto the Wellington straight. DRS again wide open as you head down into Brooklands, couple of gears down into 4th gear, get as tight to the apex as possible, then for Luffield, which feels impossibly slow. It's a real hurry up and wait corner, so you can get hard on the power up through Woodcott, past the old pits, up towards the infamous Cops corner, which in this car is not flat out. You've got to take a brake and a downshift and then get as far to the exit as possible as you head into the infamous Maggots and Beckett's. This section of corner is a real thrill ride in these cars, hanging on for dear life as the car grips impossibly through this fantastic section as you get the DRS open again down onto the hangar straight. This is where you have to prepare for Stowe Circuit, a 5th gear corner that you have to take a late apex so you can get on the power nice and early. If you run wide here, you get an off track and your time gets deleted. Then you come into the slowest part of the track, the club chicane. As you get it through, get on the power and can't go flat just yet until you're in 5th gear and then you're through. That's a 1 minute 30.3, which is 3/10 off my best ever lap as I go to try for my second lap, because in iRacing you get the opportunity to have two laps, but I go wide there and then I go wide here and then I go off the track and I get off track. So I got 1 lap in. So that time put me 13th on the grid, 2 seconds off poleman F3 driver Frederik Vesti, who finished 4th in Formula 3 this year. But anyway, we're ready on the grid and the lights go out and away we go. They all head down to the first corner. Watch the middle of the track as 2 cars come together and go off to the right of your screen. It's all a bit chaotic at this part of the race. All I try and do is stay out of trouble. I have a little nibble up the inside though, but I'm still just trying to be careful. Me trying to be careful actually gets me slow out of the loop and down onto the Wellington straight. So I lose a little bit of time. But no contact, no damage. As the pack now tears down to Brooklands, everyone again trying very hard not to trip over each other. However, at the front there's 4 cars that all come together and have a big old schmoz in the middle of the circuit. I'm alright, I gained 4 places out of that, so that'll do. So the rest of this lap is everyone else just feeling each other out, trying to find where they are, trying to get their pace together, trying not to lose any more speed. As again, watch them all just come into Maggots and Beckett's. It's such a wonderful piece of circuit. So for the second half of the track, everyone seems to be behaving themselves really well, including me. I haven't hit anybody yet, so that's always something good to go by. As we move into lap 3, I'm now on the hunt, trying to chase down the car in front of me. I seem to be quite good through Maggots and Beckett's at this stage of the race. On good tyres, I seem to be much better than the other cars around me, which sets me up for some good overtakes later in the race. I take a look up the inside here, but as it's not a heavy braking zone, there's no chance for an overtake. So as I chase this guy into a new lap, you can see him lock up into this corner. Lockups are very costly in this car. They cost you on tyre life and they also make you run wide. So as you can see, I've gained quite a lot on him through this section of the circuit. Again, I'll have DRS open down this straight. Let's see if I can get him. The DRS isn't very powerful here, so it didn't give me the opportunity to close in on him too much. So now I've got to go on board and try and hunt him down as we come up through the back section of the circuit up towards one of the best corners on the circuit, Copse Corner. This lap has been quite a good lap for me. I've been pushing quite hard and I'm getting really close to him, putting some good pressure on. He locks up again going into the chicane, and then he gets on the power too hard going into this corner, hits the sausage curb, spins round, nearly takes me with him, but I managed to avoid that. However, it flustered me, I lost a little bit of time, and the guy behind me in another McLaren liveried car manages to gain hugely on me, has a massive lunge into the first corner. I managed to hold him off as he tries to come round the outside of me, but again I'm offline and I'm still a little bit flustered after the near miss which could have ended my race. He's now firmly in my DRS as he pulls out and comes alongside me to get up the inside into Brooklands. He takes the inside line. I don't put up too much for a fight. He is on the medium tyres, so once I get myself sorted out I should be able to get back past him. So off camera, what we didn't see when the car came past me at Brooklands, this car that is currently behind me had spun and was recovering. But he was one of the front runners, so he's got some absolutely monstrous pace. And I'm going to very much struggle to keep him behind me. However, I do play it a little bit sensibly. I know who he is. I know he's got quite a lot of pace. So if he gets a decent run on me, I'm not going to fight him. I'm going to let him get past me so I can hopefully tag onto the back of him to then go catch the guy who's ahead of us. So now, as far as I'm concerned, my sole job is to tag onto the back of this green car who has mega pace. I don't want to get caught up in a fight because there is quite a few of us in this little train and you can easily get caught out. So we take a bit of a jump forward now to lap 12. As the last few laps everyone was just feeling each other out. I'm now starting to reel in this guy on the medium tyres in front of me. I've got the DRS wide open and I've got full battery deployment as I try and go up the inside of him. He doesn't put up much of a fight. He knows I'm on better tyres and he knows I've been catching him and he lets me through. We now jump forward another few laps as my tyres are starting to fade and the car behind me is starting to reel me in. I could be in some serious trouble here because I just do not have the pace. I can't hit an apex. I keep missing them and running a little bit wide. I can't get the power down as early because I can't get the car straightened up. So it has put me under threat from Regis behind me. So coming into Brooklands, I run really wide off onto the green, come back on, which causes the car to bounce. They have now got this out of the game and the cars don't bounce anymore, but as you can see, it cost me the position. So now we're going to ride on board with me for a lap with really dead tyres. So you're going to see me miss the apex a whole bunch of times and basically do a really terrible lap as I go nowhere near the apex there, nowhere near the apex there, and as you can see in pretty much every braking zone I'm locking those front wheels, which is making my wear even worse and making my problems much harder. I probably should have pitted on this lap, but the problem is these soft tyres don't last that long and I haven't got a lot of experience on them. So by the end of the race I would have had even less tyres than I end up with, so staying out was the right idea. Again, you can see me feathering the throttle as I come on the exit of Cops because I just do not have the grip. I'm going much slower through Maggots and Beckett's, and as I come out of Chapel I'm all over the place. So as I come into Stowe, which is where the entry to the pit lane is, I do think about boxing for this particular lap, but it is still a few 2 laps early, so I have to just try my best to get around the circuit. Again, as because of the low speed wobble, again it cost me lots and lots of time. And what has happened with all these missings of apexes and bouncing around, it has given the guy behind me a chance to get close to me. He is on the medium compound tyre, so where I overtook him earlier because I had more pace, he is now coming back at me. He'll have DRS here as he comes out, pulls alongside me, and again gets a nice run into Brooklands. I don't put up too much of a fight because it's rather pointless. I'm just trying as hard as I can to stay close to him. Now this is a couple of laps later as I've been firmly passed by that guy, just getting a nice pretty shot through Maggots and Beckett's, and again you can see this car behind me in the Toro Rosso colours, not Toro Rosso, Alpha Tauri. There's 3 white cars in Formula 1 these days and it's all very complicated. I don't want anything to do with him, so I box. And let's speed up the pit stop because nobody wants to see that, but it does look quite funny. So now we're back out on track and it's time to get the hammer down and use as much of these fresh soft tyres as possible. As it turns out later towards the race maybe I used a little bit too much, but we'll see how I get on. There's nothing better than a fresh set of tyres when you've just been really struggling for about 5 laps on a set of tyres that just won't give you any grip. And as you can see, I'm hitting every single apex as I start. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice hot lap. I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to turn the volume up, and let's see how this lap goes. So while I'm putting in these blistering laps on new tyres, my rival ahead of me, Regis, who again got further ahead of me from the pit stops, comes into the first section of the track just before the loop and bins it. Very, very lucky not to hit the wall, but as you can see, I managed to swoop past him. Now, I didn't notice this in the race. I only figured this out in the replay when looking through the camera angles, when I didn't understand how he was behind me. When I was in the race, I thought I just jumped him in the pit stops. So when it looks like all of a sudden a big gap behind me has a car full in it, this is why. Running a little bit wide on the entry there, on the exit there of Brooklands, but not too bad. Now this is again a couple of laps later, and this is a couple of cars ahead of me as the guy comes into the last corner and has a spin, has to wait, gets back on the power. He managed to rejoin the track just ahead of me and Regis, who are hotly chasing him down. But he would have heavily flat spotted his tyres. Not that iRacing does flat spots, but what it does do is gives extra heat into the tyres, which means he'll be struggling. And as you see coming into here, he has a big lock up and runs really, really wide. Comes straight back onto the track really well. I give him all the space I possibly can give him without making it too difficult. He is up on the inside, has a wobble, hits my tyre. I'm going to say that gave me damage, but I don't think it did. But again, we're having this big old battle as he defends really, really well. I don't think that particular swerve was malice. I think he had a bit of a moment and couldn't recapture himself. This battle here is for about 8th place, so let's see how we get on. Now as you can see, he's on the medium, so I'm not certain whether he's done a 0 stop or he's done a 1 stop and gone on to the mediums, or he just hasn't taken his stop yet. All I know is I've got more pace than him and Regis behind me has got more pace than me. So my primary objective is to get past this guy and get some space between me and Regis. The guy in front of me has managed to collect himself and not cause too much chaos for himself, managing to hit some apexes, still locking up the tyre, so that would tell me he's on slightly older mediums rather than fresh mediums, because the fresh mediums are also very difficult to get up to pace with. But again, I'm not close enough to have a go into Brooklands, and I just have to try and keep as close to him as possible so I can try and get the undercut at some point. This is what I love about this series, because in iRacing you have a license system where you gain your license through being safe. So the good thing about this particular category only having A licensed drivers, it means everyone is a particularly safe driver. They don't cause too many crashes. You get a few things on first laps, but you can't avoid that. But some of the racing I've experienced in this series, in this race, the race previous, and my subsequent races afterwards, have just all proven that the racing around here is tight, competitive and clean, which you can't really ask for more of. As you can see here, he's really struggling with traction, because every time I get on the throttle I'm getting close to him. I'm able to brake later, I'm able to turn harder, so I'm just being able to nibble him. But he's really good out of the fast stuff and gets away from DRS because he has another car in front of him in another one of the white cars of Formula 1 these days, another Alpha. But he's gone a little bit deep into here, so I managed to get him and have a look, but not quite there yet. I take every single bit of the track that I possibly can, and he goes a little bit wide into Copse. I see my opportunity and I pounce, and I get there before Regis does. He cuts Regis off so Regis can't get through. So I've done phase 1 of what I wanted to do, but now this other guy is a bit slower than all of us, so getting past him is going to be paramount. The DRS has done its job and managed to get me close to him. Not close enough to breeze past, but keep very, very close to make an opportunity happen. And the pressure does get to him as he runs wide into the final chicane, but I have to go round the outside, get very near to the exit of the circuit, but manage to cut across and gain those positions. What that has done though is it's left Regis behind 2 different cars. He managed to get one of them but doesn't get the other guy, so that gives me a nice big lead to go and work on. As we head into the next few laps, you watch the back of the screen, you can slowly see the other cars getting closer and closer to me as my pace drops off, as my tyres start to scream, as we get really, really close and we come into the start of the final lap. They are right behind me. As I come down into village, I can't get anywhere near the apex and I run wide, and then I try and get to the other apex and go nowhere near that as well. You can see my tyres screaming as they leave lines across the circuit, and these 3 cars are hunting me down and I am under pressure. Again, I go into Brooklands, I go a little bit deep and again run onto the little bit of green, but so does the guy behind me, but he gains a massive amount of time. He's obviously kept his tyres much fresher than me. A skill in these cars is to eke out the tyre life, and being only my 2nd race in these cars, I haven't quite mastered that yet. I do manage to nail Copse really, really well, and again, Maggots and Beckett's tend to be quite good for me. Again, I get hit all those apexes, as you can see him follow me very closely, but again I run a little bit wide. He will have DRS now. I'm really under pressure. I hold that right line so he can't come down the inside, and I have to send him the long way. I give him a little bit of corner, but not enough to actually make the lunge on me. And then we're coming into the final section. Can I hold on to it? I've gone a little bit deep. You can see me struggling with locking the wheels. He's around the outside of me. I go to move to the right to get away from him, but then the guy's up the inside. I don't see him. We hit. He's broken my wheel and I'm in the wall. Luckily, I'd gone past the line. So here's how I saw it. I've come into the corner. I've braked late and I've run a little bit wide. I've seen this guy on the left of me and I've moved over to the right. What I didn't realise is the guy was alongside me. So I've come across him a bit Magnussen Albon-like. He's watching everything that's going on. I'm more focused on the guy in the black car. I don't know he's here, so I probably could have left more room if I'd known he was there. It's one of those things. So here you can see the results. I end up 8th. With Regis just ahead of me and Matty Chambers just behind. Frederik Vesti, the F3 driver, unsurprisingly goes on to win the race by a considerable margin. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. I would love for you to click the bell notification icon, because on Wednesday nights I do stream my iRacing. I have live chat, so even though I'm in VR, you can come and talk to me and we'll have a good chat while I'm trying to keep the car on the circuit. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.